When it comes time to repair your chain, you have options. There are many different types of repair links with different intended uses, strength ratings, compliance standards, etc. It's important to know which chain fittings you should use, when, and how. So in this video, we're gonna go over some of the most common fittings, as you can see here, talk about when to use them, how to use them, which one might be right for you and your next application. No matter the type of link, they are all rated for a particular size of chain. We'll talk more about that later. First, let me run through what's on the table in front of us. On the right side here, we have what's called a cold shut. Next to that is a lap link. This is a quick link. This is called a snap link. This is called a missing link. And this goes by a few different names. Gunnebo, which is the brand of this particular, calls it a G-link. Crosby calls it a Lock-Alloy. CM calls it a hammer lock. Point is, there's a lot of versions of this product on the market. Generally speaking, we call them coupling links or two-piece couplers. The name is pretty obvious, of course. There are two halves to this unit. And here you can see a hook that actually has half of a coupling link installed on the top. This would be known as a half link. So let's kind of start with the most popular coupler that we sell, and that is a two-piece coupler. Again, this one in front of us by Gunnebo, referred to as a G-link. This is made of grade 100 alloy steel. In order to be appropriate for use on a lifting chain, it needs to be rated grade 80 or higher. Now keep in mind that if your whole chain assembly is made of grade 100, but you use one grade 80 coupling link, you have now downgraded your entire chain assembly to grade 80. You always rate the chain according to its weakest link. Now again, we have these available in grade 80, grade 100, and even grade 120. We have some blue coupling links on the site by PWAG that perhaps you've seen. These are very simple and easy to use. In fact, you simply take the two halves, mate them together, put the keeper in the middle, and then you insert the pin with a hammer through the keeper until it becomes flush on both sides. Now you can see there's a little notch in this pin, and that's where this keeper will lock that pin into place. So this is actually a really secure fitting despite how simple it is to install. Unlike something like a snap link or a quick link, which is lower grade and could become disengaged, really the only way to get this pin out is with a hammer and a punch. Now having said that, if you need to get this apart for chain inspection or repair, it's not difficult to do. Again, a simple hammer and a punch will do the job. So how are these used? Well, we're talking about chain repair fittings, but I don't want you guys to make the mistake of thinking that you can take a broken leg of chain on a lifting sling and install this coupler in the middle. Instead, the way these are typically used is on a chain sling like this. So you can see the coupler is installed at the top, connecting the chain to the master link. So this is the go-between, hence why they call it a coupling link. You are coupling units together, and in this case, we have two coupling links installed on one master link, one for the primary leg, one for the adjustment leg. Now what you would not do, let's just say this leg of chain is snapped or stretched right in the middle. You would not simply cut out the bad section and put a coupler in between. Couplers are not meant to use in line in a lifting leg like that. Next, let's talk about quick links. These are a really interesting component because they're super common, they're very versatile, and unfortunately they're often confused with climbing rated links. So real quick, I want to introduce a climbing rated link so that you can see the difference. Now to the untrained eye, these two products might look identical. Of course, one's a little bit bigger, but essentially they're the same. However, the big difference is that this one is engineered and tested for climbing purposes. It has engravings on the link itself showing you the strength of this link. So for a climbing application, stick with the known manufacturers such as Peugeot, which is who makes this particular link. Links like this are much lower in grade and strength and are not tested or engineered under the same conditions a link like this is. Now you've probably seen quick links like this, maybe smaller on weightlifting equipment. The snap link next to it is another common product used on weightlifting equipment at your local gym. You might also see these on trailer safety chains. They have a lot of different uses, and most of them are just fine, but stay away from any critical applications or anything to do with overhead lifting. Typically, we recommend use on these with grade 30 chain and lower. Now installation is really simple. You simply twist the gate open, insert it into the chain link, and close the gate. You'll notice the hex pattern on this gate right here. You can use a wrench, but just be advised that if you over torque this, you could damage the link, you could strip it out, or you could just make it nearly impossible to get off, which we've definitely seen that. So you don't need to over torque it, just make sure that it's tight. So let's say you have a chunk of chain laying around the house or maybe on your property, on your ranch or farm, and you just need to repair it or you need to connect it to something. Generally speaking, a link like this will be just fine, but keep in mind it might be weaker than the chain that you have. If you don't know what the grade of chain is, it could be grade 70, and maybe it's not gold in color anymore because it's been used and in the field for so long. So it's important to know the strength of the chain and try to pair it with the proper fitting. For general light duty applications, quick links generally work just fine. But all of these fittings, including quick links, are sized specifically to the chain that you use them with. So if you have a 3/8 chain, you want a 3/8 quick link. And again, you're talking about the proper mating of these fittings with the chain so that the surface area, what we call the D over D ratio, is appropriate. You wouldn't want to put a really small fitting into a larger chain or vice versa because one component is going to take undue stress. Now, I mentioned earlier that you see these used on trailer safety chains. I am not advising you to use these on a trailer safety chain or for towing, but you will see them. In fact, oftentimes trailer safety chains are sold with a link like this pre-installed. That's a pre-engineered product bought by a particular manufacturer. They're taking the liability of using that link in that build. So if you want to use this in that type of application, please do so with a little bit of research and at your own discretion. Snap links are much like quick links. Although they look different, their applications are much the same. However, this has a spring-loaded gate, so one-handed installation is pretty quick and easy. Simply slide this over the object that you're wanting to install it on, let go, and you're off and running. So this typically goes at the end of your chain and then connects it to something else. You might see this on a swing set or a porch swing, weightlifting equipment, other applications like that as well. Now these are rated even weaker than a quick link. Even though they're made from the same material or typically made from the same material, snap links, because of their design, not being a fully closed design, they are weaker than a quick link. Now keep in mind there's always going to be some variability in the marketplace. Not every quick link is coming from the same manufacturer, but just as one point of reference, on lifting.com, this product is rated at 1,800 pounds, working load limit. The snap link from the same stock material diameter is rated at only 770 pounds. So really a pretty big difference between the two. Now because of the spring-loaded latch on this particular snap link, a lot of people will call these carabiners, but please don't confuse them with an actual carabiner used for climbing. The carabiners that we sell, generally speaking, are going to be rated at 5,000 pounds or higher. Most of them have an auto locking gate or even a double or triple locking gate, depending upon what jargon you want to use. Those carabiners are specifically designed and tested from different materials, and they are intended for use in climbing applications. These are not. So there's a few fittings on the table left to talk about, so let's address those right now. We have a cold shut, a lap link, and a missing link. Cold shut is pretty obvious in terms of how it's installed. The two ends are brought together once looped through the chain, and then the end can be peened, or some customers choose to weld. Peening should be sufficient, but you have an option there. Again, non-critical application use only. A lap link like this, installed in a pretty obvious way as well. Again, it loops through the chain and you bring the two ends together under force. A lap link is a fairly strong product once installed, but again, low-grade steel, light-duty applications only. Finally, you have a missing link. So this particular one is made by Peerless. They're also available from Crosby. And these are an interesting component because out of all the products on the table, they most closely match an actual link of chain. So you take the two halves and install them through the chain, bringing them together, and you have these spikes or points on both sides. You simply peen those with a hammer to complete installation. Now, if you want to look in Crosby's catalog or any other manufacturer's catalog, you'll find further advice and information about which type of link to choose, how to install such a link, and what to look out for in terms of safety and application concerns. Now on these three particular fittings, I've situated them here in terms of strength. So on the lap link, you have the lowest rating at 1,250 pounds. On the cold shut, it's rated at 2,220. And on this particular missing link, it's rated at 2,650 pounds. Crosby rates their version at 2,750, so 100 pounds more. So as you look at the table, basically everything to the right of this coupling link is meant for light duty applications, low grades of chain, grade 30, potentially grade 43, but again, it really depends on your application, which link you're choosing and how you're installing it. Make sure that you never exceed the working limit of any component. So if this is the weakest link, then that's the strength of your chain effectively. Now on the left, these components are for use with grade 80, grade 100 type applications. This particular hook is a grade 80 product. This coupler is a grade 100. Again, there's even grade 120 out there. Now, of course, as you guys might know, there are more fittings in the industry, and we could go on forever trying to explore every type of chain repair link or chain fitting, but that's really not the purpose of this video. We wanted to cover the items that are most popular with our customers at Bishop Lifting and lifting.com, answer some questions about some of these common products that we get asked on a regular basis. All right, guys, that's going to cover it for this video. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, please like the video, leave a comment, share the video. We certainly do appreciate your engagement. As always, we're here to help. Navigate over to lifting.com where you can contact us or shop 24/7. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next one.